So our closing remarks, we actually are going to have two perspectives, because after all, this is something that's happened at the BOE level, but also at the state level. And our first closing remarks speaker will be Patricia Halagao, who is the chair of the Student Activity Committee on the Board of Education, and as I noted earlier, who has been critical in guiding the SEAL, and now following a policy that's even more, let's say, aspiratory to really bring multilingual learners into the classroom from the lowest level, from kindergarten, from preschool, all the way up through 12th grade. Patricia Halagao.
Aloha, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you here and to see all these different people together for this great initiative. I'm so excited here today with so many dedicated educators, business, community, who want the best for all of our children. And I'm inspired by our speakers this morning, Linda and Michelle, for your mana'o. We're not alone in all of this. And many of our schools are doing the work of the goals of the Seal of Biliteracy through the work with their heritage language, IB programs, foreign language programs, and dual immersion programs that value multilingualism. I want to especially thank Dina Yoshimi for everything that she's done. This has truly been a journey with so many people to see the Seal of Biliteracy to its fruition. But I want to particularly recognize Dina for her tireless efforts for making the SEAL a reality for our state, because without her persistence, her patience, and her professionalism, the SEAL wouldn't have happened. And I can tell you, a year ago I met her, when I met Dina at a College of Education lecture. My day job is actually, I'm a professor at the College of Education here at the University of Hawaii. And so I teach in the area of multicultural education and social studies. But we were putting on a lecture by Ophelia Garcia, who came to us to teach us about this notion of multilingualism. So she did a presentation on multilingualism in education, reimaginings. And after this presentation, Dina came up to me afterwards, and she told me about the Senate Bill 900 that they're working on for the Seal of Biliteracy. And then I shared with her our efforts at the board level to create a language and education policy that served our multilingual, our EL students, that reframed their languages as assets and provided them with the necessary resources they needed to succeed in school. And I remember thinking how perfect and how parallel our goals were in creating policies that value and promote the use of diverse languages. And little did I know that our paths would cross again. So as you know now, but the Seal of Biliteracy is a national movement, and we have great models with California, with the Seal of Biliteracy being started there, Chicago and Washington, and now New Jersey, which is the latest one. And Hawaii now with the Roadmap initiative with the collaboration of all. And so I'm really thankful for the leadership of Senator Suzanne Oakland Chun, who initiated the Seal of Biliteracy through the legislature. But I want to tell you a little behind-the-scenes stories of how it ended up in the Board of Education. So when the bill went before the Senate Education Committee, I wanted to show my personal support, so I testified in support of the policy. And when I testified, several senators questioned me on what is the Board of Ed doing and the DOE doing in terms of language and education. So I shared with them that we were proposing a multilingualism policy. And one senator asked, why wasn't the SEAL being done at the board level? And in wanting to back the efforts of the Language Roadmap Initiative and the legislative bill, I stated, well, I saw the Seal of Biliteracy truly as a larger movement than education. It should be a statewide initiative backed by different agencies, such as business, social work, and not just education. And one senator cautioned and said they didn't want to overstep their bounds with Board of Ed and DOE policy. And so after I went back to the Board of Education and I shared what I had heard about at the Senate Education Committee, and then board members actually said that they felt really strongly that this was an important initiative that we wanted to support and believed it was in the jurisdiction for the Board of Ed to create the policy. So then I was assigned the task of developing the policy. And in the end, I think it was a good thing that the responsibility lied at the Board of Ed and the DOE level. So along with one of my colleagues, board member Jim Williams, because it's always good when you're working on a policy to have a partner, we were able to craft a policy along with multiple stakeholders and provide direction with goals with enough flexibility for the department to determine the implementation. So I want to highlight a couple things in terms of our department. We have a leadership that is very, very supportive of this. For example, our deputy, Stephen Schatz, he actually is a bilingual ed teacher, a former bilingual ed teacher who speaks Spanish. So now he's proudly asserting that more and more through all of this. And we have leadership with Assistant Superintendent Suzanne Mulcahy, and we have directors of OSIS that are helping shepherd this policy through. So one aspect that I'm particularly proud of with the policy, which has been mentioned already, is the recognition of Hawai'i as an official language, and that it could be used as an anchor language for our students in our Hawaiian immersion schools, so where Hawaiian is equivalent to their English, and then an additional language they would be recognized. So while we all know Hawai'i is an official language, I think this policy, I believe, is the only Board of Ed policy outside of our Hawaiian immersion policies that codifies Hawaiian as an official language in policy. So here we are today, a lot of exciting things happening at the board and the Department of Education, and I wanted to share and take this opportunity and platform to share with you another policy that we're putting forward at the Board of Education tomorrow. So at our Student Achievement Committee, we're putting forward our Multilingualism Policy, which directly supports the Seal of Biliteracy. So as Dina mentioned before, we've been working on a proposed policy entitled Multilingualism for Equitable Education, which is being presented tomorrow. And it's something that we've been working on for 2 years with over hundreds of stakeholders, and really emerged out of the community needs and desires. So what started off as an EL policy has grown to a much larger policy of a multilingualism policy, which embeds our EL learners. But really it came from hearing from our community that they really wanted their voices and their languages valued, honored, sustained, and possessed. And so we wanted to reframe the conversation and look at our EL students, again, as multilingual learners who have strengths and assets that they bring to the table. So just calling it a different name than an EL policy is something that we really felt strongly about. And that we needed to really draw from our multilingual, multicultural society. So we want to set a vision that we're creating a learning environment where linguistic and cultural diversity is valued and fostered. And if we create this environment in our schools, which we are with many of our teachers already, language is looked upon positively. So when they look at our immigrant students, our EL students, they say, wow, it's so cool that you know another language. And then they want to as well. So one of the goals of this policy is to offer more diverse language programming, such as bilingual education. And we don't need to look far. We have examples in our Hawaiian immersion programs. Second goal of the policy is to create effective educators who can be both bilingual teachers and also our mainstream teachers, how they can more effectively incorporate strategies that help our teachers to value and bring in these languages as resources in the classroom. So I have a dream, and as a result, and I love this what if, as a result of the policies like the Seal of Biliteracy and our proposed multilingualism for equitable education, I imagine this K-12 vision where we start with our littlest elementary children to our secondary and into our higher education, so that we have teachers from our different communities teaching in their own communities. How cool would it be to have bilingual Chuukese teachers, more Filipino bilingual teachers who know the languages of their students and their cultures and know the content area and teach that? So working on these policies on linguistic and cultural diversity has resurrected memories that I have as a child growing up as an immigrant in the United States. In my bio, I mentioned that I was born in the Philippines, and I came to the United States when I was a baby, but grew up in the Midwest for 11 years of my life. Growing up, I wasn't proud to be Filipino, and certainly didn't want anyone hearing that my parents spoke Tagalog, and I was ashamed. It didn't matter anyways, because when my family came to the United States, my parents were told to speak one language to my 1-year-old sister, who when she came, she didn't speak. She was 1 year old, and of course, any little one who would come into a new country would be culture shocked and wouldn't probably speak. But nonetheless, as a result of this advice, none of us grew up speaking Tagalog, and I feel a great loss over this. And of course, it's never too late to learn a language, but it's harder as you get older. And my daughter, who loves languages, chastises me that I can't pass it down to her as much as their Lolo and Lola can. So with the seal of, maybe it's not too late to get the Seal of Biliteracy for me, but I want to make sure it's not too late for others. I don't think I need to go over the fact that most of the world is multilingual and that the research outlines the academic, social, cognitive, cultural benefits and all the economic and tourist benefits. We heard that earlier. But to me, there's just an inherent value in one's language, whatever it may be. Language expresses who we are. As South African writer of Indian descent, Ahmed Deedat said once, language is the key to the heart of the people. And I also learned from a visiting scholar who came recently to talk about immigrant education from Dr. Marcela Suarez Orozco, that the United States has been known as a cemetery of languages, where language loss happens. And I hope in Hawaii, and now through the efforts of the Seal of Biliteracy, and hopefully through our multilingualism policy, we're reversing this trend. We can lead the nation and become that place where language and culture flourishes and grows. We have a chance to embrace what is so unique about Hawaii and capitalize on our resources, which ultimately, in the end, benefits all. So mahalo and salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patricia. Passion is always an important part of any new project. Thank you for your passion. Our final speaker is Senator Suzanne Chun, Oakland, and she will have her speech presented.
Aloha. I am not Senator Chun Oakland, as most of you know. She was here earlier and stayed for a while, and is very sorry she can't be here to present the speech. I'm Phyllis Dandle. I'm a Director of Government Relations for Kaiser Permanente, and I've known the Senator probably close to 30 years. And so she's entrusted me with her words today. So I'd like to read to you exactly what the Senator would have said had she been here. So thank you very much for letting me do this. I am deeply honored to be asked to provide my vision for the Seal of Biliteracy program in Hawaii. When I first learned of this program at an Office of Language Access conference, the concept immediately resonated with me. Dina Yoshimi's leadership and Madeline Spring's guidance truly helped me recognize the value of this program. When Dominic, thank you, from Suzanne Wesley Community Center at a Hawaii Language Roadmap Initiative meeting at the state capitol, spoke about newly arrived immigrant parents often discouraging their children from speaking their family's first language in order to successfully integrate into American society, I felt sadness. But I also felt gladness that so many people in Hawaii are fluent in such a diverse range of languages. Dominic's comments compelled me to act with urgency. I called a small meeting in my office with the DOE, the Office of Language Access, and UH, the Roadmap and Language flagship leaders. A few days later, special thanks to Superintendent Matayoshi, BOE member Patricia Halagao, and Gina Nakahara, in partnership with UH, for taking the ball and running with it. For the BOE to adopt Hawaii's Seal of Biliteracy program in a few months of this meeting is truly amazing. I believe, like many of you, we should celebrate both the languages of our ancestors and the languages of our home in Hawaii, English and Hawaiian. I am thankful to the people of the University of Hawaii, the Department of Education, the Office of Language Access, and Roadmap staff for their commitment to create the Seal of Biliteracy program. It was remarkable to know that the Board of Education embraced this program so quickly. I see every child who speaks a different language other than English being given the opportunity to develop their language skills and participate in the Seal of Biliteracy program to achieve proficiency in multiple languages. I see our children teaching other children how to speak many languages. I see new generations of children being multilingual speakers, and see our public and private school educators embracing these opportunities for their students to be proficient in English as well as other languages. I see Hawaii having generations of children that not only have these multilingual talents, but also a multicultural understanding that will be invaluable to our world. I see a shift in our societal mindset from viewing other languages as undesirable, barriers, or impediments in education, to seeing other languages as wonderful assets that will allow us to serve our fellow human beings better. I see our children earning Seal of Biliteracy certificates that will help them secure employment opportunities and enhance the value they bring to any organization they work for. I see these children growing up and creating and leading businesses, governmental entities, service organizations, educational institutions, health and wellness centers, faith-based organizations, and other groups that provide local, national, and international leadership, service, and products that are culturally sensitive, embrace diversity, and mentor respectful behavior. I see these children, now adults, mentoring others across the state, across our nation, and across our world to embrace the beauty of our diversity and promote peaceful relations through this understanding. Thank you for being part of this effort, and best wishes for a very prosperous and happy new year. Kong hi fa choi, and aloha.